Maybe I just mute myself the entire meeting. Since I can't say what this is, might as well be muted, right? That's what I was actually saying while I was muted, was that it's impossible to describe this reality as, I'm always speaking to that and pointing to the impossibility of description, the impossibility of defining. And I want to explore that a little bit with you, and invite you also to consider the implications of that. Um, Given that so much of the what we, really all that we believe that is going on conceptually, all the frames of reference that we bring to reality, just the everyday kind of ones we've been conditioned to believe, the ones we've taken on board from our education, from science, from our spiritual studies, all these ways of that we imagine this is, that we conceive of this reality to be, turn out to be, um, well, they may be useful in some ways, we could say, arguably useful to have a frame of reference, a way of making sense of all of this. But the incredible thing is that when we actually explore our experience, as we're doing in these meetings, you can see that it's impossible to actually define the moment. It's impossible to determine what anything is or the way that it is, which is kind of the same thing, right? Because when we define something, we're essentially saying we're characterizing what it is and how it is, essentially, right? And if our definitions are true of what is happening right now, let's say, and how you're holding it conceptually, how you're defining it, how I'm defining it, then if if it was actually the case that we pulled that off, that we had determined what this is, then, well, that would be true. That, oh yes, I've determined what this is. But when we feel our experience, when you feel the flow of your experience right now, I just want you to notice what's very obvious, but essentially is overlooked much, if not most of the time. And that is the fact that the moment, what we call the moment, never actually, um, it never settles down as being a particular way. You notice that right now. I mean, of course, the conceiving part of reality, consciousness, is constantly rendering this as if it has determined how it is, the way that it is. In other words, it sort of assumes in some sense or behaves as if the reality, the flow of reality has settled down in such a way as making it renderable, definable, describable, right? But look right now and see if that's actually true. Is it true that you could say, this is how this is what this moment is? Is your experience settling down in such a way, stabilizing in such a way, such that you can say, this is the way that it is? We could only we could only ever pin down, define what it is in the moment, right? I mean, otherwise we're talking about something that happened a few moments ago or right, a few hours ago or some imagination about some future event. But so the only thing we could define, right, is what's here right now. So that's what we're feeling. We're feeling the real-time immediacy of experiencing. And as you feel that, notice the impossibility of grabbing hold of it. because it's not holding still, right? You know, if I stood up or I could just do it sitting down and I started moving like my body like this, okay? So I'm not I'm not in a stasis. I'm not in a state of non-aliveness, non-movement. I'm not like this. I'm not static. I'm trying to hold myself still. At which point, if I was like this, and you were to describe the way this is, what's appearing, me, the form of John, if I could hold completely still, presumably you could say, you could make the outlines, like this is the outline. You could draw a render, you could do a rendering, right, of the way that I am, i.e., you could define the form in some sense. But it's not, our experience is not like that, is it? If as you feel it, if you're anything like me, what you feel is something more like this, something that's moving, shifting, changing, transforming. Maybe very subtly, maybe very dramatically, changing from one instant to the next. Sometimes it's very shocking, you're just kind of chilling out, things feel pretty, not much is happening, and all of a sudden there's this loud crash, and then the change is very dynamically like in our face, the transformation of the moment, right? But even when we're just sitting, hanging out before the big crash, the big sound happens or whatever, explosion, the dramatic change, before that dramatic change, it's not static. It's not flatlined. It's got this undulating movement to it, doesn't it? And so again, coming back to the form of me, if my form is like going like this in one sense, how can you, how can the mind possibly say this is the way this form is? Because if I were to just stop and hit the pause button of all this dynamism and all this movement, and you could say, okay, so now I see and I can describe it like this is the way the moment is. And now I've described it. It's whatever. This is the pattern of the moment. You can describe it. But the minute, even before the description is overlaid, right? Before that even happens, it's already turning into something else. It's turning like if this is the shaping of the moment, like you see how it's becoming something other than itself. It never becomes anything. You get that? You feel that? It never becomes something. The moment never. This is why the Tibetan Buddhists talk about, this is about seeing through reification, which is making something that's not a thing into a thing. That's reification. Reification of reality is simply, I'm suggesting, is not possible, actually. It's impossible to determine what this is. Impossible with a capital I. Like it cannot be overstated how impossible it is. And there's nothing abstract about this. There's nothing philosophical about what I'm saying. It's a cold, hard, if you will, empirical fact of experiencing itself that you could say the moment's this way, I've defined it as this way, and then it's in the next nanosecond and even shorter period of time, if there's such a thing, it's a different way, isn't it? It's this way, and then 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 it's this way, and it's that way, and it's this way. It's no stability. Nowhere to land. It just never lands anywhere. Whether or not this is what was meant in the line in the Bible, there's no, I'm probably getting it wrong, but there's no place for the Son of God or the Son of Man to lay his head. Like there's no place to land that is stable. I was writing this morning about, sitting on my back porch, and I said, it sounds like I've just described something that is a certain way that I call my porch, like as a thing that has a certain quality to it, a certain identifiable thingness, which I call my back porch. But the actual experience how do I know where I am if I'm out on the back porch? I know I'm on the back porch because I'm experiencing being on the back porch. But the experience of being on the back porch or wherever you happen to find yourself right now, the actual experience is what? It's this. So which version of being wherever you are you describing when you say, here I am, this is where I am? Just a very um, I mean, in one sense, you say something about the experience is being conveyed when we render it conceptually and language it. Here's where I am, here's what I'm doing. I'm not on the porch, I'm in my room, my office, conducting the Zoom meeting. So I've said something about what's happening. But when you actually look at your experience, it's like, it's really laughable because that experience is, um, it has no identity. It has no fixed identity, does it? I.e., like this is what it is. This is the definition of it. I was looking up the etymology of defining and see if I still have it up here. I don't have it now, but it was basically comes from a Latin root, and the root of the word is related to the idea of it's got fini in it, the Latin fini, which is the finish, the end. Like you come to the end of what it is, which is what enables you to define it. And you've come to a conclusion of this is what it is, right? This is how it is. That's the conclusion. That's the definition of it. You set the limits. You reach a limit. You get to the end of it, right? That's what the word is rooted in. But you never reach the limit of what's here. You never come to the end of what's here. It's always becoming something else, seemingly, and then something else, and then something else. So this is this reality from this perspective I'm describing, based on this apparent ceaseless morphing and dynamism that we seems to be what's happening, as best I can surmise, reveals the indefinable. It reveals the transcendent nature of this, that it transcends everything, everything, everything that we conceive of it to be. Every story about it, every languaging of it, every way we try to model it, map it. None of those can touch it. It's infinite unresolvability. And so I said earlier at the outset of our time here that, inviting you to feel the implications of that the experience we have, maybe not infrequently, potentially, of feeling something is wrong, something is not quite right about the moment, something is missing, something is not satisfying, somehow lacking or incomplete, and so on, or problematic or threatening, or all the ways that we can conceive of what's here in such a way that essentially equates to some version of what we call suffering, right? Dissatisfaction. It turns out that from the standpoint of this being transcending all possible frames of reference, owing to this, what I was describing, this never settling, but always on the move, that's freedom. It's freedom from all the frames of reference. It's freedom from all knowledge, from all models, from all maps. And this reality is inherently free of all the ways it thinks about itself. Funny enough, because it's the reality that's generating all the frames of reference. It's just that all the frames of reference can't hold its infinity. And we're actually feeling this right now. We're feeling we're face to face with the unresolvable in every moment because exactly how long is your current experience here for in such a way that you could map it and describe it? Can you? I mean, look. Or is it the case that what's here is absolutely beyond the reach of all of our ideas? And with that, all of the implications that tend to arise from the way we're holding it in language and in concept, right? Like I'm a creature navigating a complex world that's sometimes very difficult, sometimes very confusing, sometimes harrowing, sometimes maddening, stressful and overwhelming, and sometimes wonderful and exciting and inspiring. And it's that too, right? It's the whole shebang. The world of form can be anything. But when it comes to the ways it seems to be problematic and a source of suffering, oh, that turns out to not be findable. When we touch the transcendent nature of this, which we are that transcendent nature. We're not just touching it right now. We're seeing that everything that appears is that. Everything I speak about the equalness of everything. This is one way to understand the equalness of everything, which is that it's everything is equal. Pleasure and pain are equal in their being transcendental, indescribable, fundamentally unresolvable, apparitions of who knows what. I mean, what do you call it? Any way you try to reduce reality to say it's all the movement of some subtle energy, you're still rendering it. You're still collapsing it into something that you can't collapse it into, a description. I mean, we could say it's all pure mystery appearing, which is essentially not saying very much other than that you can't get to the bottom of what it is, and that's its mysterious nature. What's interesting is that the seemingly describable world that we feel we exist in one sense, like I'm a creature sitting here talking to you, like there it is. The transcendental is not somewhere else in some other realm. What appears to be resolvable is fundamentally not resolvable. So our everyday life is the transcendent. There's no reason to go somewhere else because anywhere else you went would be just more experience anyway. The point is that all of our experience is transcendental. Here, but beyond graspability, strangely enough. It's amazing. I was writing also in the same piece this morning that I was working on about how one could understandably ask, since this never settles down to be a particular way, as I was saying, and in that sense is never here, never actually takes form. How is it that we are seeing anything? How is it that anything is appearing visibly and identifiable? And how do you see objects? How do you see subjective states of mind? How do you see patterns? If this is moving, how do you see a pattern? How is there a whole world that's appearing in light of what I'm saying? It's sort of it's a reasonable question, isn't it? And it's a question I found myself asking at different times, just more out of curiosity. I didn't feel like it was something I needed to resolve, but I was just sort of stupefied by. by it. And my my friend and Peter Brown, whenever I would pose that question to him, just had a great answer, which was it's magic. It's magic. It's absolute magic that something that's not a thing, right? There's no things here. From the standpoint of it never settling down as a thing, there's no people here, there's no world here, there's no states of mind here. It doesn't settle down as being anything looks like all of this stuff. That is the absolute most remarkable magic trick of the universe, that it appears to be something and can be experienced as something. I can hold my loved ones. I can listen to music. I can, right? I can grieve losses. I mean, it appears to be something and can be related to in that way and is related to as being something in one sense. And at the same time, what that is cannot at all be determined and is pure, absolute, unknowable, boundless, fathomless mystery. It's both of them somehow.